Good morning, Little Black Raincloud community. We are back today, and it has already been an entertaining morning. I have woken all of my guests up to be here at 7:30 in the morning their time. So first and foremost, I'm so sorry. And second of all, we have already started laughing. So this could be a very strange episode today. I was talking to a couple of my cohorts in the room next door, and we kind of thought that today's topic, which happens to be anxiety and depression, is kind of the gateway to all mental health illness. So this whole episode is going to be a little bit down the rabbit hole for us. But if you like the podcast, the station, the show, everything, go ahead and hit that subscribe. As Cappuccino always says, ding that bell if you want the notifications on when we're live. If you're on Facebook, follow us there, all of the things. Nico's getting us up and running on our Spotify here soon. So we're going to be on all the things. We're going to be like crabgrass, can't get rid of us. We are everywhere. Okay, so let's talk about anxiety and depression. And honestly, I don't know that there's anybody in the world who hasn't had some form of one of these, both of these, or, at the same time. And today we've got Mr. Jones over there in the booth again, doing some producing work for us.
Hello, everybody. I'm a little anxious.
You're a little anxious, not depressed. You're anxious today. Okay. So, all right. Anxiety and depression. Where do we start? I was anxious this morning. I didn't know what to wear. So, go with Star Wars. That's a safe bet. I was like, is the show going to suck? How do you follow up the episode with this topic following the episode of, taking your own life, self-exiting? That's a hard thing to follow, literally and, metaphorically. So today we are just going to dive in. I'm going to introduce our guests one at a time, and then I think we just round table it. So first, we're going to go in order of how long I've known everybody. Sorry, Shanti. We're going to start with my bestest friend in the entire world. She's also my sister. She's either getting me in trouble or out of trouble, sometimes both, at the same exact time. We're going to introduce her first. Her name is Taylor. We're going to pop her in here. There's Taylor. Good morning, Taylor.
Good morning. It is a morning.
It is
I too was anxious this morning and last night. So
you are a ball of anxiety. You are the definition. You're in the dictionary under the word. And we share anxiety too. Like her anxiety gives me anxiety, and then when I'm anxious and depressed, then it makes her anxious and depressed. We're like a match set. We really are. We are matching baggage.
We should have matched shirts today.
Well, I don't own anything nearly as cool as what you own.
But I own stuff as cool as what you own.
Oh, that's true. We could have coordinated.
Could have been less anxious.
Yes, less anxious. But your shirt is cool. And your hair is awesome. And Shanti's hair is also awesome. We'll get her in after we get in Michael. So Michael is up next. I met him in 2023. He is now he is also not only my friend and family, but he's also my boss. So that's pretty awesome. He's like, oh no. Michael's a pretty cool dude. When we first met, there was no talking about the weather. We just dove right into like all the trauma we had both endured. It was just like, we're going to rip that Band-Aid off, call your therapist later. And then we have Miss Shanti, who I met exactly a year later from Michael. And Shanti also works with me, but I consider her family and friend. Every once in a while, you are going to see a disembodied arm. That would be Nathan, and he's also family. So
he has a whole lot, I promise.
I was thinking about just not telling anybody, but this is about anxiety, so I should probably not cause it. So,
if you ever do an episode on 8-foot anthropoid monsters.
Yes, well, if that's the episode, that's the only one I know is Nathan. So, good morning, everyone. I hope this podcast is not causing anxiety, even though it's about anxiety. Taylor's like, guilty.
I've been up since 1, but whatever.
I have, of course, spent the night on and off stressing about what exactly I would say today. So
Oh,
Same.
we never know. Like, I don't ever have anything scripted ever. I just come in here and I'm like, it's either going to be really good or it's going to be shit today.
I was just like, Hope, do you have any notes? She's like, I sent you an email. And in my head, I'm like, are there further notes though? Like, are there questions I should be preparing myself for? Like,
So I think on a stereotypical level, everybody thinks of anxiety as like shaking in the corner, like Chihuahua in the corner, shaking, having some sort of panic attack. That's not always how anxiety presents itself. And it doesn't always have a trigger. It doesn't always have a cause. I know for me, I don't know about for the three of you or four of you. For me, when I'm anxious, you would never know. You would never know because it's inside. And apparently, according to my husband, one of you knows my husband in real life. The other two will soon. When I'm anxious, he'll say things like, you look totally calm. Like I have a poker face while I'm holding aces and eights. That's probably a coping mechanism for another episode. But how does anxiety present for you guys? I don't care who goes first. We're just going to, this is going to be all Greek style. We're just going to go. It's going to be round table. Yes. Taylor is Greek. Maybe because Taylor's Greek, we start with Taylor.
Anxiety, how it presents itself in so many ways, and like Hope said before, it's not that you even always recognize like the trigger of what's caused it, but I've had anxiety, like I struggle with agoraphobia.
Me too.
I've had panic attacks. Yep. So yeah, it's mortifying. I struggle with panic attacks in a grocery store. Target of all places, even like I've left full racks and just or full carts in Target and just like beelined out and called and apologized later. Like, it's completely debilitating for some people, and I definitely experience that side of it for sure. It takes me time to get ready in the morning, and like I have to kind of prep myself because I can't step outside the house until I've like kind of, been like settled.
You want to chime in, Shanti? Because I know like you piggyback on the fear of leaving the house sometimes.
Yeah, well, and just so you guys know, the video has stopped on my end for you guys, so I can't see any of your visual cues. But yeah, so I was a court reporter for a period of time, and when that stopped at around age like 32, I started getting really, really depressed, and I was getting a lot of mail that I didn't want to get, and so it started, I think, with the inability to go get the mail, and luckily my husband at the time was willing to go do that, and it devolved from there to where I could not leave the house, and I don't know how to describe it other than that. I would start shaking, sweating, heart racing, and I don't know for how long that lasted, but it was a significant period of time that I didn't walk out the threshold of my door, and that's been something I've been kind of trying to keep an eye on because I do not want that to happen again. That was very unpleasant. In fact, and when COVID hit, we moved up to Northern California, and for about, I want to say, a year and a half, I didn't leave the yard. And yeah, it was just, that one wasn't because of anxiety. That was because of, a concern about illness and all that. But yeah, it was just very interesting that the difference between those. But yeah, I even did have a doctor tell me, she's like, I think you should see somebody because you have agoraphobia. And I'm like, well, agoraphobia, that means a fear of the marketplace. Have you been to the marketplace recently? Of course I'm afraid of it.
Well, just to jump in, like, I think you both said something super, super like connecting, that whether it's a perceived fear, whether that fear is logical or not, or whether that fear is, if I go outside, I could catch this illness, that right there is fear. I think a lot of anxiety is rooted in a fear, regardless of if it's a organic one, if it's a perceived one, if it's a trauma response. Now, mind you, I do have to mention that none of us here are licensed therapists. We're just normal people. And by normal, I mean completely loony, but normal people. So we're not here saying, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. But this is how we've had to deal with it. This is how it presents itself to us. So I'm going to jump over to Michael. Michael, have you ever had times of just feeling utterly anxious? And what do you do with it?
Oh, boy. Well, for me, anxiety is a different, well, I don't know if it's a different experience because I'm not inside of you guys' heads, but it isn't an overwhelming fear. It's an undercurrent of dread in what I'm going through from day to day. It's that, and it can be during times when I'm getting my things done. I'm going to work. I'm doing what has to be done. I'm, coming back home and, but it is, okay, well, I'll tell you what, my previous job before I was doing what I'm doing now was as a psychiatric technician at a state hospital. And I won't say any more than I absolutely have to about that because, frankly, I don't need to dwell on it. But I was there for 18 years and change. And the overriding experience of anxiety there wasn't inside. It wasn't on the floor. It wasn't when I was, dealing with the patients or dealing with the staff, which was often much more problematic. It was the experience of walking in. When I drive to the hospital, I park way out in the parking lot someplace, and I would walk in toward the sally port. And every step, there's something inside of me telling me, no, run. But it wasn't just that, obviously. I mean, anxiety and depression are very much a lifelong thing, and I didn't have much of it diagnosed until I was well into my adulthood. It'll be a situation I don't necessarily want to be in, that I know I have to be in, and I will be walking through a cloud, or no, cloud isn't the word. It's more like it's like a shallow sea of resistance that's coming from inside of me. No, don't go that way. And it didn't have to be work. It could be something as simple as going to a social event or going to almost anything. And I just want to turn around and go that way. I'm not anxious to get there. Even if it's something I actually like, I'm not all that anxious to get there. It's just, what's going to happen? Will I be able to handle it? Is it going to feel, I'm not exactly sure how to describe it, because to be perfectly honest, I've spent a lot more time thinking about the depressive aspect than I have about the anxiety aspect. But it's just this undercurrent of dread that whatever's coming next is going to feel like I'm most afraid it will feel, and very often like it has felt previously.
I feel
it's never that I'm, wanting to go and do something and get into this and participate. It's more like, okay, how many different ways can this go wrong?
Right. And I feel that part of that is something that I deal with. And anybody that has ever seen any document I've written, anything I've put on a calendar, anything that I do in my life, it's always about how much can I plan in advance and how much can I control? Because if I can't control it, it makes me nervous, because the fear of what could possibly happen, or maybe it's the other shoe dropping, whatever, those little, like, what if, make me more anxious than the actual scenario. It does weird things to me. Like, I don't know. Taylor actually knew my former mother-in-law in all of her glory. She caused me so much anxiety. And I would literally, like, anytime I took my shower, I would have arguments in my shower with her. She wasn't there, but I'd have arguments with people. So I was prepared for the inevitable. And I'm really kind of a little upset because I didn't get to use half of the good shit I came up with in the shower. But
never goes that way.
I know. No, it was a very short conversation at the end. It was like, F you and everything you stand for. But I am always thinking ahead. Like, we've got Shanti and Michael and I have an upcoming trip, and Taylor, we're all going to parts of this trip that I went, and I'm going to be gone from the 12th to the 21st. It's like an ungodly amount of time. So I went online and I'm like, okay, I've been watching this suitcase. Is this suitcase really good for 7 to 12 days? Can I get as much in it as they say? I don't think I can. So I have to get this other carry-on bag, which says I can get another 12 days. That is 24 days. I work in a math field. What am I doing with 24 days worth of shit? But I have to bring it. I have to lug it with me, and I have to bring both hair straighteners, because what if one dies? What if one stops working? I have to have both. What if I randomly have a migraine? I haven't had a migraine in 20 years, but I might have one this trip, so I'm going to bring all the migraine meds. The anxiety of packing, I've already started packing for July 12th right now.
Good for you. I do mine at the last minute.
I was going to say, then there's the other side of the same anxiety coin, and Taylor, who doesn't pack until it's like 4 seconds before she has to walk out the door.
I can't stop thinking about packing. Anytime I have something coming up, that's like all my brain wants to do is go, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need?
Yeah.
I have a list.
I will sit there and create that list in my head, but it's anxiety producing to actually go and pull out the luggage, however far ahead, and get into it. Basically, I don't want to pull the luggage out until I'm like in the middle of it. Wait a minute, the train leaves in. I don't want to go there because I've been thinking about what I need for however long. I'm actually thinking about what I need now.
Long time now. I've just anxiety by bringing up the trip. So let's actually jump over, because the other half of the episode it's kind of a combo, anxiety and depression.
Yes.
Now, some people end up with both, and that's a whole whirlwind of problem. We can get into that in a second. But depression by itself, which it rarely comes by itself, for the record. Again, not medical professionals, but any situation I've ever encountered, it doesn't come by itself. Depression is its own animal, and for me makes anxiety worse, because my depression tells me I don't want to, I can't, I just, there's no iota of me saying I should do this thing, but I'm not going to. Like the master procrastination over here.
Yeah.
But then the anxiety kicks in, and it's like, I have to be doing something or I'm worthless. Like those two things, and then they butt heads. Like, I have to do it all, but I don't want to do anything. And so depression, though, stereotypically you hear, oh, it's sad. You're sad. Depression is more than sadness. It's sadness, it's self-worth, it's dwelling, it's grief, it's anger, it's everything. So it's
a blanket over all of your feelings. It just all goes.
Yeah, and then everything is so much heavier. Simple things that used to bring me joy, planting flowers, now becomes like.
It leaches the joy from all of the other things that you had previously been able to find that rejuvenation from. It just makes you like a battery that can't be recharged, or me.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to speak to their depression? It's again, this is open forum. It's totally up to you. You don't have to share, because we're not here to cause more depression and anxiety.
You know what? If I hadn't come onto this place or onto this show prepared to share, I wouldn't have come on. I'm here to be as much of an open book as I know how to be.
But to be fair, we are about consent, and you're always allowed to remove the consent.
Yes, I know. I know where to find the off button on this thing. Don't worry. I am very much all about consent. Thing is, I am, oh, thank you, God, at a point in my life where I know how to withdraw my consent when I please to. And that is, oh, such a blessed relief, because in youth, we're handed all of these obligations that we're told we're supposed to be there for this person, we're supposed to be there for that event, we're supposed to be, we're supposed to comply in this way and that way and the other way, and very often it's a double or triple bind. And getting to a point where you can at some point say, no, this is BS, I'm out. It should have been one of the Beatitudes, because it really is a point at which so much starts to untie. That's actually something that has helped to untie a lot of the anxiety in my life, because I do know how to withdraw my consent. That's the thing, just to take a little side trip onto the subject of consent. We've got a society that really doesn't understand consent when dealing with others. Oh, did they consent? Did they not consent? Did they, agree by clicking the button? Did she agree by wearing that? So many weird, confusing messages about that. But the thing we almost never talk about when we're talking about consent is knowing inside of yourself how and where and when to withdraw your own consent. How to draw your own boundaries and recognize them and say, no, I'm not good with that. I'm out.
And if I can just jump in real quick, that is something that I really try to I know I don't want to get too far afield from what the topic is, but especially with young women, I really try to let them know you can always leave. Doesn't matter how expensive the scenario was that you were talked into, or if you become the bad guy for setting your own boundaries, you can always leave. And if they try to stop you, it's a crime.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We can always defer, back to the original topic, but we can always, but the show is 100% about talking about the things that nobody talks about. If we happen to go off on a tangent over there, that's okay.
Well, and I don't really see that as that much of a tangent, though.
It's not, but Shanti was worried about it.
Oh,
yeah.
No,
Shanti was worried that she was leaving the topic of the show, but
I was worried I was diverging.
And you're allowed to diverge from the topic. Like there are rules, and then there are guidelines, and the guideline of the show is anxiety and depression, but it's kind of it is an umbrella to so many other things. It is like when you hear, again, not a doctor, but you hear the term neurodivergent. It's not one thing under that term. It's so many things. It's a broad term for many things that all have similarities. Like the color blue. The color I just thought of was probably way different than what you thought of. Like my blue is probably different than your blue. So these are umbrella terms. And consent is something that's worth talking about. If nothing else, it has to be talked about. Whether it's I don't want to do this because it makes me feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't mean paying your taxes, because as much as I don't like to, I just reminded myself of something to be anxious about.
Gee, thanks.
Yeah, sorry. We're not going to get into dollar signs because that makes me anxious.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And depressed.
And depressed. And then I go spend more. So when let's just rip the Band-Aid off. When I've walked into a bar or an establishment, an adult establishment without kids there, you know, most of the time I'm with Taylor. She and I have gotten some cat calls. It's usually Taylor because she's the pretty one, you know.
No BS. Don't even.
She's the
Don't
one.
even.
She's the one they're looking at though, because her hair is typically the one that's brighter than mine. Until now. Now we're like playing this game.
We're gonna converse about that after this.
Yes. Now I'm having anxiety about the scolding.
Uh-oh.
Dun, 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 dun.
So we walk into a place and you get a cat call. Okay, that's par for the course, unfortunately. But there's a boundary that cannot be crossed unless I say so. And that is a consent that so much of society has said, oh, it was no big deal. Or, you know, we're going to go on the other side. Michael, can I share one of your professions prior to now?
Oh,
That you
please
always-
feel free.
Okay. So first and foremost, thank you for your service. Michael is a United States Marine.
Love it. Thank you, sir.
So as a Marine, he is, first of all, outside of being a Marine, he is one of the smartest people I know. But as a Marine, nobody assumes that. Like, why does that have to be a thing? It's something he's going to have to deal with forever. They find out he's a Marine and they automatically assume he's dumb. That's a terrible, terrible stereotype.
You know what they call a Marine with an IQ of 75?
What?
Sir.
Oh, boy. Oh, wow. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm leaving all of that alone. Every bit of it. Or
I like the jokes. I'm sorry, but at some point they get really funny. I had a niece who was blonde as all get out who told blonde jokes. Sharpest tack in the box, let me tell you. They're just funny. They are funny because they're. But if you can laugh at them, it takes away their sting almost immediately.
Or if you just don't get the joke. I love that. In high school, people were always making fun of me, and I wasn't on the same page as them, and just it didn't have any sting because it's like when you have to explain a joke, you know.
I feel like
Shanti, do you mind just because this is about anxiety and depression, but do you mind if I mention the obvious physical dissimilarity between you and that disembodied arm to your other side?
That's fine.
Oh, okay. I didn't think you would because you generally laugh. Shanti is what, 5 foot nothing?
Correct.
And Nathan is 6'8", and
that's correct.
They work together here in the center, and my standard joke is that they're interchangeable parts and I can't tell them apart.
That makes sense. Given what we do and all that, I could see that.
I thought that was going
also,
a whole
I'm far away.
I don't know if I was the only one that felt that was going a whole different way. The obvious difference between you and Nathan was not your height.
It was the height.
It's not the haircut either.
The height is different, but on a couch they're not wholly dissimilar. But my brain went a whole different way.
Uh-oh.
Shanti's a Shanti and Nathan's a Nathan.
We do have some other differences, but not many.
Yeah, not parts many. That are not interchangeable. Anyway, this is for some reason I was like, these are going to be the best people to put together, but we're all weird. I love this.
Oh yeah.
And good morning.
There is a reason we pull together, Hope, and I have to tell you, I'm looking forward to meeting Taylor because this looks like this is going to be fun.
Do you remember when I said you should meet my best friend because she would be able to fix everything you need fixing? This is the person. I mean,
I
that was 2 years ago. And about that point, Taylor was like, I'm not going all the way up there. No.
I still don't know that I could go up to Atascadero, but we can reconvene on that as well later.
But so depression, I don't know that we've actually gotten a feel for depression from everybody.
Well, what
We got
we've
Kent back here in the corner, our producer. He's raising his hand
So,
like
yeah.
he's in fourth grade.
So
well, here's the thing. What we've been covering is just what it is that depression does away with. We've been talking about laughter and joy and connecting with people who are weird the way we get along with, and we've been talking about all kinds of different ways that people interact, and we've not discussing them in abstract, but just actually interacting.
What you got,
This
Mr.
is what this is what depression throws a wet blanket over.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
Because well, and I'm sorry, but Hope, there's no way I think that a show on anxiety and depression should make you depressed.
Oh, absolutely. No,
really
that was
silly.
the last episode.
yeah.
Let's enjoy the conversation. The thing is, and the whole reason I went off on the joke tangent is that anxiety is a factor, is a consequence of not being able to see the humor and relax into the incongruity, the stressfulness, and sometimes just the madness of a situation. You're confronted with a joke. If you can't laugh, you're probably going to get anxious.
Well, I also think that with anxiety also does this weird thing that I fear the things that could happen more than the things that have happened. Anxiety for me is of the future. Depression is the same problem, but usually from the past. I'm depressed about things that are currently happening or things that have happened, sometimes about things that will happen. I mean, all of us could agree on, regardless of what your political affiliation is, that politics causes depression and anxiety. What has already happened, what is going to happen, what is happening, that kind of thing. But for me, depression is of the stuff that I'm dealing with now and before, and sometimes future, but anxiety is almost always what is going to happen or what could possibly happen. What do you got, Kent?
Yeah, my question would be: is there a difference between anxiety and depression? And
Yes.
usually, when we hear depression, we think, "Oh my God, they're sad, they're lonely, they're curled up in a corner." Where, truthfully, Winnie the Pooh has it right. Right? Depression is Eeyore. You go through life, you do things, you get things done. It just, like Mike just said, it sticks on you like a blanket.
It diminished all the joy.
Yeah. And the anxiety then is Tigger, that, you still go through things, but everything inside of you is hopping around and buzzing around and being crazy. And I think a lot of times, there was years that I was depressed, years, because of a failed business. I didn't, in all my life, I was like, you put on the smiley face, you just keep going. It wasn't until years later I go, oh my God, I was really depressed for that 5, 6, 7, 8 years. But you keep going through life.
Right.
But when you hear depression, I think nowadays it's like, oh my gosh, you are suicidal. Oops.
It's always you that says the word on the show.
It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
You want to cause yourself harm, or you are sitting in a rocking chair in the corner, mumbling stuff to yourself, and you can't move, and that's not necessarily the case.
Well, example of that, Taylor was here for this period of my life. Taylor has been here for most of the ridiculousness since I've been 21.
Was it 2012, 2011?
Yeah, something like that. So Taylor watched me go through everything after my dad took his life. I was more active as a person during those years than I have ever been. I was going out every single night. I regardless of the fact I was always sober, going out every night, always doing karaoke, always somewhere, always in the car, never home. And I was hiding from those feelings, but she watched me go through that. If you go back and look at the person I was then versus the person I am now, I am much more functional now as a human than I ever was in that period of time. And I was still going out, doing the things, smiling, laughing, joking, singing, hanging out, doing all the things. But I think because of the depression, the anxiety, the grief, I was on autopilot.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Taylor, would you say that was an accurate description of how I was manifesting my own issues, like with things going on?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know, like Shanti, like how does that road for
you? Well, I mean, it totally rang true to me for having, lost my husband Bill a little over a year ago, and immediately after that, partly by my own design and partly just because people wanted to be around me and be helpful, it was kind of a go. I actually at one point felt like I didn't even have room to grieve because I was around other people who all, even in the best of circumstances, if you're around other people, they have needs and you are at least aware of them, even if you can't do anything about them. And so, I really felt like there, again, sometimes by my own design, sitting at home alone was not great for me. So, having that kind of constant momentum and constant plans for something else to be looking forward to, I want to say it was helpful, but I'm not really sure if it always was. It might have been a crutch at times, but yeah, there was definitely a pretty chaotic period immediately after he passed, and then it kind of hasn't really slowed down now that I'm thinking about it.
I'm gonna say you haven't really slowed down since then.
No.
I just want to say though, Shanti, because you said, okay, you think it was helpful. Sometimes it was a crutch. I just want to remind you that there's a reason there's such a thing as a crutch. Okay.
True. Yeah.
The fact that it's a crutch at times, it can be extremely helpful if your leg is broken. You kind of need something to walk around with. So
this is true.
That's true. I mean, and I don't know that it was a hindrance to your being. I think it was a survival mechanism. It was a tool that you had, and it might not always feel like the correct tool, but it was something that you had to do to be able to survive. It's like self-preservation, which is a wonderful thing most of the time.
After I lost my bride back in 2019, depression. Oh boy, is that ever a tame word for what I went through? But you know what? I was, and I don't want to dwell specifically on that, but I want to say that during that time, I was immensely blessed in that I had people show up I didn't even realize were friends. That first week, I ate much better probably than I really should have. Because people just made sure I didn't have to cook, made sure I didn't have to take care of, daily necessities beyond getting myself out of bed and brushing my own teeth. Mm-hmm. They were there for me. And over the course of the next few years, I had people calling me up and getting me out of the house to go do things when I didn't want that. When there was an very best piece of advice I ever got, and I don't even remember who said it to me, but I took it to heart immediately. After Terry Sue passed, someone told me, everybody's going to be coming in and offering to help. Say yes. And this was kind of, you kind of wonder about the consent aspect, but this wasn't about consent to let people cross your boundaries. This was about letting people be a help when they wanted to be, when you tell yourself that you should do it all yourself. You shouldn't do it all. You can't do it all yourself.
Right. Well, that's a self-worth thing too. Oh, I shouldn't take the help because I'm not worth the help. And that's a very big part of it too. And
or I'm not supposed to take the help because
right.
I'm supposed to be, strong.
Or other people have problems. I have heard so many people like try to deflect when I've tried to help them because they say, but other people have worse problems. Sure, but that doesn't invalidate your problem.
Exactly. Taylor, when like pretty early on in our friendship, we realized we were both nerds about Doctor Who. And I keep referring to the show because Doctor Who is a lifeline. But there is a... Hi, Hoggle.
Yeah, you're about to
Tom Baker rocks.
Sorry.
I love him. Everybody, this is Hoggle, this yellow orangey thing.
Censoring
Hoggle's butt. Got it. There's a line that Matt Smith says in one of his seasons, and it's with Amy Pond. For those of you who are fans of the show, he says, "We're all stories in the end. Just make it a good one." So that is Taylor actually told me that pretty early on when we were like becoming friends. And then I have this little potpourri bottle she made me. I'll have to bring it on one day for show and tell. She painted it like the TARDIS, and she told me. But also there are things like that matter. Also lines from the Mad Hatter that if you cannot come into the light, I will sit here in the darkness with you. And that's okay. You're allowed to have people sit in the dark with you.
Exactly.
Not in a reality sense, because that's just odd. But like if I'm in darkness, Taylor has sat with me in the darkness. Michael has sat with me in the darkness. Shanti has sat with me in the darkness. All three of them know way more about me than anybody should. But they have all just reciprocated. And is my life worse than any of theirs? Hell no, it's not. They've all been through their shit. But because they've been through their shit and they've gone through the things, they know the importance of being there when somebody's going through their thing. I think the best support you could ever find, for me personally, is somebody who knows what it feels like to not be okay.
Yeah, definitely. I think something that like we, I don't think I think we've touched on a little bit, but like that's, something a lot of people miss, which is a symptom of depression is dissociation. I struggle with autism and ADHD, and those combat. Like they're just always fighting with each other, which creates it creates its own amount of anxiety and depression just because of the way I perceive the world and the lack of understanding and the lack of ability to process the world in the same way as neurotypicals, right? So trying to exist as a neuroatypical with people who are neurotypical is it's its own devastating experience, because people misunderstand you constantly. I feel like I'm always trying to explain that, hey, this is how I process this is how I get through with this, or this is how I understood this because of XYZ. And it's just about trying to make sure that we're communicating effectively and that they understand where I'm coming from, because depression for me has been so heavy. I try to say that like my good is neutral because I'm not a typically happy person. I don't feel happy most days. I don't experience elation often. Like I get a few giggles in here and there, but overall, like my goal is to just try to stay above neutral, because once it starts dipping below neutral, like that line, it gets really scary really, really quick. And I'm not often kind to myself when I'm in the throes of it, and it can get really, really dark and really, really nasty. And we need to definitely break that stigma, because it's invisible diseases, right, are the things that people whatever it is, I think triggers depression in whatever your ailment is. You know what I mean? Because of the lack of understanding there, and it's incredibly important for people to find compassion for people for others, and patience. I say this thing, and it's, with compassion comes, or with understanding comes compassion, and or you could just, they're interchangeable, whichever, however you want to look at it, but there's a word that was mentioned earlier that we're not going to replay, but I'm not going to repeat, but I will go down that road a little bit. That has been, that has always been an active part of my life. Unfortunately, I kind of have this thing where, like, I have a Reaper on the back of my shoulder because I feel like the Reaper is always at my back. I feel like he's always chasing me down. Like, I can never just get rid of him, and that depression holds me there, and so does that anxiety, and they couple.
Is that why that tapestry is behind you?
I just like spoopy things.
Yeah,
I like.
It is
things.
a pretty one, but it's also kind of evocative of what you just said. So
I feel like her entire style goes that direction, but I mean, so does mine to some extent. But yeah, I can see what you're saying though. That, like, that is it. Would it be safe to say for you that having that Reaper always behind you, both like on your tattoo, but also like proverbially, that's a word I can't say at all today. Would you say that that's the reason why it's almost hard to take a deep breath ever?
Yeah, or to sleep ever, it's my brain is just always replaying, it's always replaying hurt. Like I'm in a state of dissociation currently, even. So, like, even in this moment, it feels like I'm, like, the me that, like, Hope, like, is, as my cat looks at me, really cute. Stop. It's Hoggle. I feel like I'm trapped in a safe room, and I'm watching through a window, watching my body walk around and do all the other tasks and make all the other decisions for me. And it's mortifying in a sense, because you don't have any control over what's happening. You don't have the emotional control over what's going on in your life. And it's just your body that's trying to, self-preservation. It's trying to save itself, because you're cracking a little bit upstairs, and it needs to be safe. And then you can't even control when you come out of it.
So on a engineering perspective, I mean, we've engineered machines to do the exact same thing. Your check engine light comes on, your engine is actually trained and taught that if certain things, the sensors are not reading correctly, that it will shut down. Your engine will stall, it will stop, it will sputter, because it's trying to not overheat, it's trying to not blow up, essentially. And that's what you're explaining to me in a, like, mental aspect. Your check engine light is on, and your brain is protecting you from those cracks.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just went down that weird example.
No, it's a good one, and like these things, like they affect all day, they affect everything. They affect my relationships. They affect friendships. They affect work. It affects my relationships with people at work, which is its own travesty.
It's an entire season, by the way, guys. Her work is a season.
Yeah.
But let's face it, this subject could be an entire season.
It really could. The last episode, we found the same thing. We were sitting here, and it was just like, as soon as we got through one thing, it was like, oh, but then there's da, 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 da. And is that not indicative of mental health in and of itself? Mental health is, one, we know so much about it, and the more we know, the less we understand.
Yeah.
Everybody has something they're going through, but it doesn't always present the same way. Taylor and I look depressed completely differently. My anxiety and Shanti's anxiety look completely different. Michael and I processed grief differently. We have all taken whatever the input is, and we spat out different results. Because as the human condition, we are not computers. No. Computers are far less flawed.
and we are not interchangeable parts. Not even Shanti and Nathan.
Not even Shanti and Nathan. I was waiting. There it is. I was waiting for the hand. So when I think there are also types of depression, like there's seasonal depression where and Dustin, my husband, will be the first to tell you he goes through seasonal depression because he doesn't like being cold. He doesn't like being cold. He doesn't
And
like.
you were in Chicago?
He's here because he loves me for no other reason.
Yeah, she moved far away from me after I moved. Well, no,
you moved first, Bench.
I moved a very short distance away, okay? You moved across the country for me.
Moved to a state which I will never live in. All three of you are in the same state.
Well,
we'll see.
Would that be the state of complete confusion?
Yeah, confusion, denial. Yes, that's the state I'm in. It's interchangeable with the word Hanoi.
At least not have to shovel snow, Hove.
Yes, but at least I don't die of overheating.
Go to the beach.
Not where
you though. You can go to.
So okay, this is one of those. The human experience is a problem. I don't know how we navigate it other than doing what we're doing. I think maybe the anxiety is how we're navigating it. Without the anxiety might be that check engine as well. It's telling us, don't do that because this could happen. And I don't think people that there's a lot of people I know that don't have anxiety and they've had very calm lives. It's like one person that I know that doesn't have anxiety.
What is that like?
What is that like? Exactly.
What is that like? I want to know.
I never know. We're all balls of anxiety here. But that particular person has had and now I've had a blessed life, but they've had a very blessed life in the way that they haven't had much in the way of trauma other than just being human. They haven't had a lot of grief, which unfortunately will eventually catch up with them because nobody gets out alive. There's a lot of things that they haven't gone through yet. So their anxiety and depression level is definitely on the lower side. And it just confuses me. How does that happen? And anxiety and depression don't go away. So we are going to run out of time here pretty soon. I think we're on we got about 6 minutes left.
It's like you getting the light over there.
Oh, he's got a board and he's holding up.
Yeah, he's got to bounce.
Yeah.
It's a little too much.
The last episode long.
Do you mind here as we're getting toward the end? Do you mind if I take the conversation back to the business of not just our own depression and our own anxiety and our own the things that we go through, but also how others support us, how we support others.
Yeah, absolutely.
About how we support us.
Well, yes.
On medication.
We do absolutely support us, but we also support one another. And I'm remembering you can call it a joke. It's a funny story, but I actually got it from a television show, and it was a glorious television show, and I won't relive it. You guys remember The West Wing?
I love The West Wing.
Well, there was one episode, and I will not let myself revisit that because that was a glorious space in my life, but I could do a whole show on that. There was one character who was suffering from PTSD.
Josh Lyman.
See, I'm trying not to go there. I wasn't going to say it was Leo McGarry who was the other one in this scene.
But it's my favorite scene.
Then I'll go down the rabbit hole and start thinking about West Wing again.
But it's my favorite scene.
But, yeah. Josh is suffering from PTSD, and he's done some things, including actually yelling at the president, things that are really not not very smart, and he's glad that he's still got a job. And he's basically telling Leo, I'm glad I still have a job. Thank you. And Leo tells him a story. And the story is, guy falls into a pit. And he can't climb out of the pit. He's trying his best to get out of the pit. So he starts trying to yell for help. Oh, meow. Someone wants attention.
They're
and
fighting.
He's yelling for help.
Fighting, yeah.
And a doctor walks along and sees him down in this pit. The guy says, hey, can you help me get out of this pit? Doctor writes a prescription, throws it into the pit, and walks along.
Mm-hmm.
A little while later,
I went to that doctor.
a lawyer comes up. Hey, can you help me get out of this pit? Lawyer hands him a business card, or throws a business card into the pit, says, call me, we'll do a consult, and then takes off. Okay, so next, a friend of the guy walks along, sees him down in the pit. Hey, buddy, can you help me get out of this pit? And the friend jumps down into the pit with him. And the guy's like, what did you do that for? Now you're down in here with me. And the friend says, yeah, but I've been here before and I know the way out.
Oh, the wisdom of Leo McGarry.
See, that's the thing about helping each other, sitting in the darkness with each other, being there for each other, not laying expectations that, oh, you're going to do it this way, you're going to do it that way, you'll be fine. That's all BS. The friend is the one who can bring themselves to just jump down into the pit and be there with you.
Yeah. But Taylor brings up a good point about it being not only the people that show up for you, but also how we do have to find a way to show up for ourselves, because sometimes the friend doesn't walk by at the moment we need them the most, not because they wouldn't want to, but because they don't know.
That's true.
Well, and oftentimes, like, something else we don't talk about is like how burdensome it feels to reach out to people. So until you have people that are like so close that know you, that they can just see the signs, like reaching out can be the hardest thing. And, you know, I'm sitting here, I think, just because fate decided I was still going to be present on this earth. But, you know, when I isolate, I keep to myself quite a bit. So it's an easy sign to miss with me. And so I try to stay medicated, and that's its own other stigma, right? So like and these are all huge things that we could talk about in another episode even, you know what I mean? Even like next season. Like there's the stigmas that come with this stuff are really heavy, and it really makes healing hard, and it makes trying to get through what you're going through even harder. It just piles on and on and on and more and more and more, and it just never ends.
And to piggyback off what Taylor just said, I'm going to put this out there to everybody listening. If you are going through something, and as much as it feels like a burden, and you don't want to be a burden to your friends, to your family, to society in general, I'm going to tell you, as somebody who has friends that feel that way when it gets rough and it gets dark, I would rather you interrupt me when I'm sleeping. I'd rather you interrupt me on my busiest moment where I would otherwise not have any outside things going on. Bother the friend.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Call the friend. Because I would rather be there for you now than mourn you later.
Absolutely. Well, I've told you, Hope. I've told you, Shanti. You know, you need something from me. If you call me at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, I will answer the phone.
You have said this. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I believe you.
I do. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's bankably true.
I've called Taylor at ungodly hours.
Oh, so I've called you too at ungodly hours.
And Shanti, I've reached out to you when something doesn't make sense to me, and you've been in a situation that feels similar for some help. Michael, I've texted you on the Sabbath. The middle of no contact time. I have texted and answered.
If I get something from somebody on Shabbat, I'm going to at least look at it if I can. If I can put it off until the end, I will, because I do try. But if this is something where you need me, I need to know about it now.
Yeah.
Pikuach nefesh, the saving of a spirit, the saving of a soul. If you need me, I'm there.
And Taylor's like that. You're like that. Shanti's like that. The disembodied arm over there is like that. Everybody, the people that I surround myself with, and I'm so blessed for this, surround myself with, are all like that. And this would have been a much harder road, and maybe not even a road I'm on anymore, if it weren't for those people. It started with my mom and my dad. They are like that. My mom's like that. My dad was like that. That's weird when you get into verb tenses when one's not here anymore. Yeah, so we are going to wrap today. But if you were listening, and first, if you need help, there is no shame in that. There is no shame. We will get into the theme of It's a Wonderful Life later. But call someone. If you need help, check our description below. There's going to be some resources there too, as well as you can always, even if you have questions, we're not licensed therapists, but you can always reach out to us, and we won't have answers, but we'll sit in the dark with you. So with that, thank you all for being on the show. You are now the next 4 on the Little Black Raincloud list. You are now Rainclouds with us, and we have jackets. We're in a club now.
Where's mine?
I'll bring you one. I'll see you in 2.5 weeks.
4X, 5X.
Got it.
Is it a cut? Is it a full jacket? Like, what are we talking about here?
No, I think we go t-shirts to start and we go cuts later. We got to cut some costs first to do that. But next week, I believe, is going to be an odd one. Or next month. This is actually the July episode. If you're listening to this right now, you're in July. So I've already seen Shanti and Nathan and Michael and Taylor because this airs in July. Next episode is about family estrangement and toxic family situations. So if you happen to know that you want to be on the episode, send me a line. Otherwise, I've got plenty of people that fall into that category too. Because trauma overlaps. We have them all. We are bundles of anxiety. So with that, we will put that outro in, and we will see you guys next time. And until then, tut tut, looks like rain. Everybody in
Thank you, Hope.
sit in the waiting room. Don't go anywhere.